Dear listener, hello. Today, something a bit different again. I'm outside the studio and I'm attending an outside broadcast, an OB, or a remote if you're listening to this from North America. The reason I'm doing it is because it's in my hometown. I live in regional Victoria, just outside of Melbourne, and it's very rare that we get big cap city radio stations coming to our area. So I thought I'd go and meet Jacqui Felgate, who is the host of 3AW Drive. She is doing an outside broadcast from the Sorrento ferry terminal. I know that sounds really hokey to people who might think, huh? But trust me, it's a big deal in our town and it's great to have Jacqui here. So I'm going to catch up with her now. Jacqui, welcome to Sorrento.
A beautiful part of the world.
I know you love it down here.
Yeah, well, I live on the peninsula now. It's been the best thing I've ever done for my kids and family. It's just, yes, it's a bit of a trek into Melbourne every day and to our studio, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, and you get to spend a bit of time listening to the radio then, don't you, when you're out on the bout on the car?
I've been a 3AW listener since before I met my husband, and I remember when we first got together and moved in together and he turned on another station, I said, buddy, we listen to 3AW in this household. And then he, of course, became a convert to Ross Stevenson and the Brekkie Show.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Ross, because I've got a theory that in radio you always need to have someone in your corner.
Yeah.
Now, you can correct me if I've got this wrong, but listening to Ross, my sense is he's been your champion internally and externally. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, all of them have, but in particular, Ross, it's funny, when I left Channel 7, the first person to call me, his producer hadn't seen the news that night when I'd said that I was finishing up at 7. I was driving out of the car park and the roller door had just come up, and Mark Davidson's Scorcher, if everyone would know him. And he rang me and goes, do you reckon you'd be able to do some food reviews for us? And I was like, well, actually, I've just quit my job, so yes, I can.
Wow.
So that's how I started at 3W.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Ross is always, I've known him for many years, and to have someone who I consider to be the best radio broadcaster in Australia in your corner, like you say, it's really lovely, to be honest.
That's great. So this is your third year on Drive?
Yes.
What have you learned about doing radio every single day?
Lots of things. I think the words baptism of fire would come into play when I talk about my first year, in particular, the first 6 months. Like, I've always worked in media. I've done print, TV, and obviously I dabbled in a little bit of radio, but the jump from being a guest on a show to hosting a show, and in particular, I guess, having an audience that is a rusted on 3AW audience, and how you can say, I guess I was new to them in many ways, being younger and female and coming from modern media very much so. And then having an audience that was so used to Tom, and we are very different people. We actually get along so well. It's so funny. After his show every day, we always laugh at what he's talked about, and we have a good chat. And he's like you say, having people in your corner. He's always been in my corner too.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Now, talk about that journey. So started in print.
Yeah.
You wanted to be a political journalist.
Yeah, and I was. So I worked at the Herald Sun. I was a copy kid there. I started there in 2003, I think, getting the coffees and going down to the printing press and picking up the paper.
Right.
So a long time ago now, I did my cadetship there, and I did state politics as a young reporter for the Herald Sun.
Right.
And then I moved to Channel 9 and did politics as their political reporter there. And again, they'd always had older men doing that job. So it was a real leap of faith for the people at that time that hired me. And I did that for a few years, had my first child, and then I went to Channel 7.
Right.
Yeah.
And in politics, it's a daily fare on your drive show, right? I mean, I listen and I hear like there's always something, particularly state politics, to go on.
It's funny, isn't it? I often think I'd love to talk about something else, but I think it's the thing that matters most to people because of the election cycle that we're in, the government that we have, the standard, I think, of a lot of our politicians. And so I often think, like, how does this matter to the real person on the street? And it's not so much the politics, it's the issue.
Yeah.
And youth crime in particular is something that we talk a lot about on the show. And it can be many things like debt and how you translate that into the real world for people. Why does it matter to them and why should it matter to them? And I think like politics is such a broad brush term, but these are issues that affect the everyday lives of Victorians. So it's not so much politics as the problems, I think. Yeah.
When I worked in Talkback, the thing I loved every day was turning up and you'd literally start with what's in the news and you'd build the show around that. So talk us through your prep. How does that go?
So mine will be really different because I run such a large Instagram page, and that is such a news-based forum. So I think I have like maybe 470,000 followers, but the majority of them are from Melbourne. Okay. So over 90% are from Melbourne. Yep. So it's very much crowdsourced news. So my goal with the show and my hope with the show is that if someone contacts me on Instagram and I can't fix their problem on there, I may be able to fix it on 3W Drive because we have that bigger platform and the ability to go out to different organisations to either highlight an issue or cover an issue. And my main focus on the show is to break stories.
Yep.
I will follow stories, and we do, depending on each day, but the best days we have are the days that I bring a story to the table. And that story has 99 times out of 100 come from someone who's contacted me on social media.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
It's like this sort of almost like a merging of the new and the traditional.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's sort of done that before at 3W. So that's sort of my point of difference.
That's great. You're sort of almost becoming your own source of news, bringing into the program.
Yeah.
How many people on your team?
We have Jimmy Zabo, who is our executive producer, and then we have Catherine Powell, who's our other producer and call taker, and Carl Bianco does our paneling and also produces. So my the Jimmy runs the show, and the other two do multitasking. Like Catherine will often step up, if we're on an OB, Jimmy will come out with me, or vice versa. So that they are asked to do many different things all the time, and they work so hard. Like some days I feel sorry for them. We have a group chat. I try to say you must mute that after hours, but I'll put the stories in the chat.
Yep.
But you don't have to get back to me until lunchtime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you like getting out of the studio too, which is good. So
Love it.
OBs, and you get a chance. People just came up before and wanted to say hello. You get a chance to meet people where they are, which I think is always important for a talk host.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's also good to see different parts of Melbourne and Victoria, and maybe interstate, maybe overseas one day. I'll take the show anywhere that we can go. And I love getting out and about. And I think from so many years I was obviously a newsreader for a very long time, but before that I was an on-the-road reporter.
Yep.
And I love getting out and about, and because the studio can be quite across a small space, and it's quite dark.
Yeah.
It's like a little cave. So it's nice to come out. Like today we're at the Sorrento Ferry Terminal. What a beautiful day.
Beautiful.
Who wouldn't want to be here?
Stunning.
Yes.
Now you get to scratch your footy itch a bit too at AW, don't you?
Yeah, so I did Friday night footy until I don't do that anymore because obviously I'm on drive. But we have so many. We have Sam Doherty regularly on the show this year, and we have Mark Allen talking sport, and I have Matthew Lloyd on a Monday. So I have footy is. You know what footy is? Like there's a saying, the CEO of the AFL is like the Prime Minister in this country, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so for me, footy, it's not necessarily that we're talking about the games. We're talking about the issues around the game. And if you're a truly Melbourne person, footy is our religion.
Oh.
And so for me to not do football stories, like just yesterday, we had a lot of chat. I thought, let's just throw out what's happening at Carlton.
Yep.
Well, we'll have a full board of callers.
Yeah.
And then lots of people who are like ex-board members or whoever they might be. There's no more passionate human than a Carlton supporter.
Yeah, great.
And when they're not going well, it's good radio.
It's good radio.
Yeah.
It definitely is. Well, that would be good for Tom and you, I guess.
Exactly.
In terms of that
Well,
topic.
Tom's a bit conflicted because he loves them so much. I don't barrack for Carlton.
So what's your aim with Drive? So let's say we're sitting here in a couple of years' time and you would have done Drive for 5 years. Where are you then in terms of stories, listeners, ratings? What do you think?
I like to think that we help people and that we solve problems, but also that we break stories. So we'll do a story, and then I will see that story as soon as we're talking about it. I will see the screen come up, and it'll be the TV news is to say, what have you got? Can we have that vision? Can we have that talent?
Yeah.
So I always want to be at the forefront of news, so that if you're listening to our show, you're going to hear something new, and interesting,
That's good.
and funny too.
Yeah.
Like I think it can be quite heavy sometimes, news radio, and so I want people to be able to get that news but also have a laugh as well, because some of the best conversations that you have with the listener are the fun ones.
Yeah.
So it's that getting that balance right of really hard news but also all of the quirky, weird and wonderful things that happen in Melbourne. So I hope in 2 years I'm still here. I hope we're winning the ratings, and I hope our listeners still enjoy the show.
Yeah, and look, I think you can hear that brightness coming through. Like as a regular listener too, I hear when you go between subjects and you're talking to people, what you maintain through that is the bright optimism. So you might be talking about a serious subject and one that's very critical to people's lives in Melbourne, but within 15 minutes, I'm going to hear a bit of that. I'm going to hear a bit of you talking to a caller. I'm going to hear a bit of optimistic, which I think is an important trait.
Yesterday we talked about what gift your pet had brought home for you, because someone on Instagram sent me a photo of their dog with a baby possum on its back, and the callers, like animals were bringing home like baby lamb, some chickens in its mouth, and then all of these people were adopting the secondary pets. So they're the weirdest things. Our show, it's crazy, but at the end of the day, like doing the good stuff for people that need help, that's actually the most fulfilling part. Like we're so lucky we have Lexus of Blackburn as sponsors of the show, and whenever I have someone contact me on Instagram that's in a dire situation, we can call them and they will give them gift cards. So it's money.
Yep.
For listeners who are really up against it.
Right.
And we've just did that recently with the most amazing story, and the messages and the feedback that we get from the people that have contacted me on social, and then to say, hey, I've actually got a corporate partner who can help ease your burden in life.
That's great.
Like it makes you feel, it really fills your cup.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, well, let's see. Thank you.
Well, no, and you're about to do your OB,
okay.
so I know
we're
there's people mulling around already.
Yeah.
Last question, I couldn't let you go without asking you this, Jacqui. Why can't you work with Kyle anymore? Oh, wrong Jacqui. Oh, shit, what am I saying? Wrong Jacqui. Hey, thank you for being a good sport and appreciate you talking to us.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
You can go have a coffee or a wine now.
I'm going to. Awesome to chat to Jacqui. She's doing a great job, and I think being a woman in talk is probably still, believe it or not, unusual. It's rare. A lot of talk presenters around the world are still mostly male and mostly a bit older, but Jacqui is bringing a breath of fresh air to what she's doing on 3AW. And 3AW, for those that don't know it, is probably Australia's best radio station. Best when you think about it for all the key metrics. It's consistently rating anywhere between 15 and 20% of the audience share. It's consistently profitable. It's had a consistent breakfast show for a long period of time, led by the amazing Ross Stevenson. I'd love to get Ross on the pod at some point, actually. He's just a fantastically curious and entertaining individual, the kind of dinner party guest you'd love. So it's great that Jacqui agreed to come on. Okay, well, that's the OB taken care of. Now I'm going to head back to the studio because I've got a very special announcement. And you'll hear about that on the pod tomorrow. So, dear listener, that's been the Quarter Hour.